Sir, good morning. My name is Cadet Bieger. I'm joined by my partners, Cadet Quinn and Cadet Marchetti, and today we're going to present to you our findings in our Skynet drone systems decision case. So sir, as you can see, this is our agenda. We're going to start by going over a little bit of decision-making analysis framework and kind of some of the background that goes into what we do here. Then we're going to talk about how we frame the situation, show you our influence diagram, go through some decision trees and sensitivity analysis, show you the results of our Monte Carlo simulation, and then give you a final recommendation for what we suggest your company should do. So just a little background up front on what goes into our decision analysis process. You can see over here, this is kind of how we define the decision. You can see we have the frame, kind of make sure we have the scope of the problem good. We have the decision maker who sits on top of the stool, and the stool kind of represents the problem itself. So the seat is the logic, and then each leg represents a different part of the decision. So there's preferences, information, and alternatives within the decision-making process. Over here, you can see while we can't guarantee you a good outcome because we might be unlucky or we might be lucky, we can guarantee that you're going to get a good decision with our company. And then down here, we just have the different levels of the decision. We're trying to stay within the scope here, but then you also have policy level decisions and then tactical level decisions that we'll get into on the next slide. So like I said, when we're framing the situation, there's three levels. We try to stay out of policy and tactics because that's more of the company's area of operations. We try to focus more within strategy. But just to give you some examples, some policy for your company would be Skynet acquisitions and contracting. Strategy is your UAV system, the production company you use, and the level of production that you utilize. And then tactics is your R&D process, your marketing, and then your distribution.
All right, so the first thing that we wanted to do when we framed this decision was sort of structure it all out with our influence diagram. As you can see, the green boxes represent your decisions, and the red circles represent your chance nodes, or your unknowns, so to speak. And all these things come together to result in a payoff. So essentially, this first decision you got to make is whether or not you want to purchase the information. Second decision you got to make is whether you want to produce now or you want to produce the future system after some R&D. Then you got to decide which production method, whether high, medium, or low, and then finally what production or manufacturing company you're trying to go with. As far as our unknowns, it's the R&D success, so the success of that future drone, and finally the market demand of the UAV systems. So once we had that all framed out, our next step was to create a precision tree, mapping out sort of the decisions and finding what we believe to be the best decision depending on your preferences. So the first thing we did was take just a basic expected value decision tree, which maps out all your decisions and gives you what the highest payoff is, excluding all your risk preferences. So that being said, initially we were thinking maybe you should go with the future system because it has the highest payoff. However, it also has the highest risk. Please, next slide. So what we did next was we took that risk tolerance value that you gave us, and we added that in to our precision tree calculations, which accounted for the risk averseness of the company and how much risk you're willing to take. With those things taken into consideration, we decided that the current system would probably be a better path to choose. Next slide. And our final step was factoring in whether or not we should purchase the imperfect information. So given the company's track record, we decided that it was very beneficial for us to purchase the information. So that way, later on, we would know how much we would want to produce of each UAV system later down the road in order to give us the best profit that we can.
So, sir, I'm going to take you through some sensitivity analysis, talk about how we simulated this decision, this situation, and then give you some final recommendations. So the reason we do sensitivity analysis is because we have a few unknowns. We want to see how much those unknowns influence the eventual payoff, the eventual profit. And so two of them that we used were the probability of success of the future system, and then also the risk tolerance value. So your risk tolerance value, as Cadet Marchetti mentioned, deals with how much risk you're willing to inherit in the company to go with either decision. And we did a sensitivity analysis varying it from 25% below the value that we determined and 25% higher. And you see right here, that's modeled right here. For the R value, we found that it wasn't, the model was not sensitive to this value. You can see that throughout the entire range of R values that we calculated for, the current system is always more profitable, and you always get the better expected utility. And now for the probability of success, we determined that the given one for the model was about 72% chance of the R&D process being a success. And we model that 25% either way. We see that once it gets greater than maybe 82 or 83% chance of success rate, it is better for the future system to wait and go through the future system. You will have a better expected utility for your model, for your decision. Next slide, please. So another tool that we're able to use is the Monte Carlo simulation. What the Monte Carlo simulation does is it takes all the inputs that we have and use to calculate, and then it simulates the model over thousands of times to see what it looks like if it were to actually happen. And it uses normal distributions, it uses discrete distributions, it uses these different probabilities to make to run the situation through many different trials, and you can see the results that we get. And you can see that if you move from left to right, that's showing the different production methods, and top to bottom it's the different production companies. So the top we have performance production company, the middle we have vertical, and then the final one on the bottom is the future system. And you can see the further right we go, so the more that you produce, the greater the mean is for the profit. And that just makes sense because with producing more, you're more likely to have a greater profit. But with that also comes more risk. And so you can see that they all settle around a normal distribution other than the future system, because there is that risk of the failure in the R&D process. Next slide. So here's our money slide. This is the recommendations that we're going to give you. So you have four decisions. First decision, we want you to buy the OGD analysis for only $100,000. It makes no sense to pass that up with the high success rate. And using that analysis, we're going to have a better chance of making better decisions down the road. Decision two, should we go for the future, wait for the future and have this better system, or go with the current system? And we chose that you should stick with the current system. Determining how likely you are to inherit risk in your company, we decided to play it safer, not risk losing a lot of money in the process, and stick with the current system. With that, decision three, we think it is best for you to go with vertical production company because of the cost per unit, their variable cost, but also the fixed cost with the unit, with the company, as well as how likely they are to be busy or be able to meet whatever overrun cost, whatever overrun product you need. And then finally, for the production level, because we're using the analysis from OGD, they'll give us a better understanding of what the market's going to look like. And so we decided is if they tell us the market's going to have a high demand, we're going to stick with the medium. Let's just make sure that we don't waste any money having a higher quantity than the market actually needs. And then we can meet that demand using the overrun feature. Then we have the medium level. We're going to stick with medium, meet them right in the middle. And then if they predict a low, we're going to stick with low. And we think that this is the greatest way that we'll be able to maximize the utility for your company. We thank you for your time. We look forward to future business.